Alright, welcome back everybody. We're doing another Monster Hunter ranking video. Unfortunately, we're a little late. We're like 2 days late. Some stuff came up, so, had to be a little later than usual, but we're getting to it now. Keeping with our thing of, first is first and everything in between, we've got our first Elder Dragon on our docket, which is going to be the first one I believe this is the first Elder Dragon you ever encounter. I can't really fact check that now because the only information I get on that when I look it up is that it was a quest you could do, and now you can't do it because this was in Monster Hunter 1, and due to the server shutdowns, there's not really anything you can do. So, we have our Kirin, our little Kirin logo. Now, this is the logo from World, because, why not? I like that one a lot better, honestly, myself. So we're going to talk about Kirin. So Kirin is very, very interesting, especially because, I know in Freedom Unite, it was the first one I had ever fought. And it's very odd because he's not what you'd expect an Elder Dragon to be. He's, in fact, he looks more like a unicorn, which I know he's based off of the actual Kirins from mythology. But they look more like you would think was like, they almost look like a horse mixed with a dragon, almost like they have the wood antler looking things like Shenron has from Dragon Ball. Most dragons from Chinese mythology have like those wooden antler kind of things instead of your medieval Western dragon horns. It is interesting that he's in there though. That they would put an actual like mythological creature in there, which is very nice. Other than dragons, which of course they have, but something more Eastern than the Westerns. Like Kushala is a straight up Western dragon, but they definitely leaned in more with a unicorn design for Kirin, which I mean that's not bad, but it did confuse me a bit. I was like, isn't this supposed to be a dragon? And this was before I found out Elder Dragon is a status given to anything that's just weird and unexplainable half the time. But yeah, I think Kirin is a very interesting, and all elders really are good, interesting concepts. But Kirin's a good starter because he's the smallest of the elders that we've seen, but also the fact that Kirin is, he's your introductory elder dragon, and the fact that he's supposed to introduce you to those kind of creatures. Like this thing looks meh, it's kind of small, not that bad, but it will actually destroy you. And the fact that he's one of the only like thunder monsters. There's very few thunder monsters that I can think of off the top of my head. Especially in the earlier generations. Jeez. I'm actually gonna look real quick. Hold on. Let me look up a list of, because I keep talking about this in like my playthrough of Freedom Unite, and I keep talking about it in any videos where it comes up, but there aren't that many monsters which use the thunder element, which is very interesting. And I've got a list right here. And in fact, yeah, there are not that many. And I mean, there are some. Most of these are, some of these are going to be either non-canon or they're going to be subspecies. So there's already Abyssal Lagiacrus. Now, Abyssal is a deviant, but it is a Lagiacrus. Lagiacrus is one. Elytrion, yeah. What is this? I don't even know what this is. I'm pretty sure this here is one of those non-canon monsters. Astalos, yeah. Behemoth I don't really want to count because that's an event monster. That's one of those things that just shows up as an event thing. And if I talk about Behemoth, I'll have to talk about Leshen. Yeah, it says Frontier. I think Frontier was... Did it say Frontier? Hold on, let me go back to the page it just loaded. It was in the Frontier generation. Let's see. Monster Hunter Frontier Z. I don't know if that one is canon. But this is apparently a subspecies anyway of whatever this other monster is. But that's beside the point. I can only see a few that are like not either, they're canon and non-subspecies monsters. Kezu being one, Zinogre, Rajang, your usual suspects in the regard, but Astalos being one. There's a subspecies for Giganox in here, which that's again a subspecies. You got that. There's no way that's even real. Elemental Bull Drum. There's no way that's even real. Yeah, you got your Fulgur Anjanath, but again, that's why is Great Jaggy in here? Great Jaggy's not a thunder monster. Okay. Yeah, Zinogre, White Fatalis. Yeah, but well, yeah, I don't know. That's a weird category in of its own. Toby's in there, of course. But yeah, there's not a lot of guys in here that are truly, Namiel being known. So it's just, there's not a lot of them in there. And in the earlier gens especially, that much is true because a lot of these subspecies didn't even exist and a lot of these regular species didn't even exist in Gen 2. So, let alone Gen 1. So Kirin being in there is very unique, but it's also unique in terms of he teaches you that you can't use your usual methods and tactics when you're fighting an Elder Dragon. Your usual shit just isn't going to work because the Elder Dragons are crazy. They'll do things that you've never even seen before, things you didn't know were possible, and that's why they're Elder Dragons, because they defy all laws that the guild knows. The guild will only mark something as an Elder Dragon if it is truly an supernatural being or a disaster, like a walking ecological disaster, and economical if you think about it, destroying the farmlands and whatnot. Like kind of like Yamasukami does every time he comes down. But I think Kirin does a pretty good job. I mean, he's not that hard to fight. He's basically just got a Kelby moveset. He's got a Kelby moveset. That's it. Yeah, he does. Well, that's just his normal movements and whatnot. But he does have his lightning attacks, which are devastatingly powerful. Like, Kazu was one thing, but he's in a whole other ballpark. And it's just, I don't know. The armor's really good, especially, if you're going for that kind of elemental build. Oh, you want Kirin. Kirin boosts the living hell out of it. But that's a debate talk about for armor. But Kirin in and of himself does a really good job. I think it does a pretty decent job at introducing the hunters to the Elder Dragons. Because, when we started with them out the rip, like in World, we start with two out the rip. You start with Zora Magdaros and you start with Nergigante. Like, they're right there in the beginning of the game. It's like, holy shit. You're throwing the hunter here? At these things? It's crazy. It's crazy to think about. And I know it's for story purposes and scripted events and whatnot, but still, that's kind of wild. You're just going to pull the rabbit out of the hat before the damn show even starts. But Kirin is definitely up there in terms of power. There are monsters, obviously, who can take Kirin down. Rajang hunts them as a ritual thing, like a rite of passage. Rajang will just hunt one down, wrestle it, rip its horn off, and eat that shit. That's how they get their power. But, I mean, Elder Dragons are not invincible by any means. Nergigante literally eats them. He himself is an Elder, but it's, I don't know. This is so frozen I can't drink it. Anyway, but yeah, I don't know. Kirin does a good job, and Kirin's been in almost every game because Kirin's supposed to be one of those mentor monsters, those teaching you, hey, these monsters are pretty wild and unpredictable. There's not a lot to it other than just, Do I think Kirin should come back? I mean, at this point, he's classic. He's one of those classic monsters like Rathalos. They're just going to keep putting him in the games. I personally, I don't see a problem with bringing Kirin back myself. Kirin, like I said, he does what he does, and he does it good. Could there be anything, better than Kirin? maybe, but have we seen it yet? I mean, that's debatable. But in terms of Kirin doing what Kirin's supposed to do, Kirin does a pretty good job. Kirin is there in the early games in order to give you access to the Elder Dragon parts that you need in order to make like Elder Dragon level weaponry or armor and whatnot. I know in Gen 2, you need Elder Dragon bones to mine off the Great Sword in the cave in the Poke Farm, but and Kirin's a good way to get those Elder Dragon bones. You can get the bones and then make yourself a powerful dragon weapon to take on elders like Kushala or Teostra or what have you. So I don't know. All in all, I think Kirin is a pretty good monster. Unfortunately, we don't have Big with us today. Big had some stuff to take care of as well. So it's just me, and without anyone to bounce off of for this one, I kind of don't have a lot left to say about Kirin. Kirin's one of those monsters where he's just there, and there's not a lot to gush over. I gushed with Laggy. I really gushed with Bracky. But with Kirin, there's not a lot other than he was the first of our elders, and he's a good fight. He's pretty decent. It's a little tedious having to chase him down, but other than that, it's just up in terms of, do you like Kirin or do you not? Personally, I don't have a problem with Kirin, but that's just me. So that being said, Kirin, as good as a monster as Kirin is, and the fact that Kirin is an elder, I can't place him too low, but, and I'm sure I might get some flack from people about this. I don't know what Big's going to say, but we'll see what Big says. And like I said, this list is ever changing. This list will constantly change. We haven't gotten to that point yet because we've only done like a handful of these fuckers. But if I could figure out how to work tape, wouldn't that be a nice little thing? Oh, you think I'd know by now since I've already got so many on this damn board. So, Kirin, I'm me personally, myself. I will be putting Kirin I'll put him at the lead of B tier currently. So as we currently reside, we have in the B tier Yayan Kutku, Najarala, and up here in the front, we're going to put Kirin. Kirin's going to be in the lead running of B tier. So that is that. Now, I might get some people, I'm probably not going to get any comments on these videos. I never get comments on these videos. But if somebody does have a problem with Kirin being where Kirin's at, hey, that's perfectly fine. If you got a problem with that, voice it. Let us know why it's not a good idea to put Kirin that low, because otherwise, Kirin's just going to stay there, Now, do I think Kirin should come back to Wilds again? It'd be I wouldn't be hurt if he didn't, but I'm not going to say he shouldn't. That's just me. But if you want to see Kirin in Wilds, drop a like on the video. And if you want to tell me why I'm wrong about putting Kirin in the B tier when we're looking at the grand scale of every monster, let me know about that too. And give me a reason as to why we'll move Kirin either up or down even. So, that'll about wrap us up for the Kirin video here. I've got a lot to catch up on video-wise. So, if it's either going to be here or there or anywhere else I'm usually seen, hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one.